Great to see you again, and welcome to another episode of World of Africa on WION World is One. I'm Eric Njoka. Sharpwena, South Africa. This week, we focus on the horrors of Africans hating against each other and expose the rot that high rate of unemployment and poverty can pose to a country like South Africa, that ultimately leads to locals taking law into their own hands and attacking other African migrants. What is causing the anger and misinformation? The show starts now. The actions of some South Africans against undocumented African migrants has shocked and infuriated the whole continent. Nigerians in South Africa are increasingly seeking to return home amid renewed concerns over xenophobic tensions, with officials in Abuja confirming that many of those requesting evacuation lack valid residency documents. The development comes as tensions rise following reports of anti-immigration protests and the deaths of 2 Nigerians in police custody, prompting diplomatic engagement between Abuja and Pretoria. In Nigeria's capital, residents voiced concern over the recurring nature of such incidents. Our correspondents Louisa Olaniyi and Calden Ongmu filed this special report from Lagos and Johannesburg, respectively.
Armed and ready to fight the illegals. That was the atmosphere in cities like Johannesburg and Pretoria as anti-illegal immigration marches popped up and spread in the last week of April into May. Fears of xenophobic attacks creeped back in a nation that has had a dark past with the vice. Ghana's High Commission advised its nationals to close businesses and keep a low profile, while the head of the Nigerian Union of South Africa told its members to remain indoors.
But we are here to send a message to say, listen here, when we say respond and say away to, when they say amandla, we can take them because amandla away to. So when they message with such amandla it, that's what we are doing. Yes, this is gentle and nice. We want it to end like that, but we don't want to be pushed further than where we are.
Anti-migrant sentiment has gained political currency in recent years, with some believing foreigners are taking jobs and unfairly benefiting from public services. Condemning recent attacks on foreigners, President Cyril Ramaphosa used his Freedom Day address, marking the country's first democratic elections in 1994, to also remind his country of their debt to other nations on the continent and supporting their struggle against the racist system of apartheid.
We are a people who live the value of Ubuntu. We should never allow the legitimate concerns of our communities about illegal migration to breed prejudice and hatred towards our fellow Africans. We should not allow that to happen.
At the center of black-on-black hatred is a state-sponsored and capital-sponsored hatred to distract you from giving you economic opportunities, to make you blame wrong people for your misfortunes. There's no Zimbabwe that took a land from you. There's no Zimbabwe that took a tender from you. There's no Zimbabwe that took a job from you. There are no jobs. The jobs Zimbabweans are doing, don't want to do them. You are so educated enough to can do those slave jobs. That's why, not that you are lazy. You are not lazy, you know your worth.
Previous protests linked to immigration have sometimes escalated into violence, prompting calls for restraint and protection of vulnerable communities. South Africa is home to about 2.4 million migrants, just less than 4% of the population, according to official figures. Most come from neighboring countries such as Lesotho, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, which have a history of providing migrant labor to their wealthy neighbor. The protests have drawn condemnation across Africa, and some reports suggest South Africans could face restrictions entering Mozambique. Xenophobia or Afrophobic incidents have sparked anger across the region, including Nigeria, as my colleague Louisa explains. Louisa, over to you.
That's right, Calden. Here in Lagos, mixed reactions have trailed the unfortunate incident. The anger is indeed palpable across the nation. As we speak, the Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bianca Ojukwu, confirms that Nigeria is arranging evacuation flights for 130 Nigerians stuck in South Africa following the latest xenophobic attacks, although it is not clear when the flights are scheduled.
Nigeria's foreign minister expressed President Bola Tinubu's concern about the attacks in the southern African nation and condemned the violence against foreign nationals and demonstrations characterized by xenophobic rhetoric, hate speeches, and incendiary anti-migrant statements. She cited the killing of 2 Nigerians in separate incidents involving local security personnel, insisting that a government was demanding justice. 4 Ethiopian nationals have also been killed in recent weeks, local media reported, while there have been attacks on citizens of other African countries. As Africa's most industrialized country, people from elsewhere in the continent have long traveled to South Africa to seek work. But some South Africans accused foreigners of being in the country illegally, taking jobs from locals and having links to crime, especially drug trafficking.
Look, I think the main reasons we are here today is to further reinforce our stand that as the South African people, we are tired of illegal immigrants who have flocked our country in numbers in the millions. Actually, nobody even knows how many of them are here walking around undocumented. But in every corner of every street, even in the rural communities, they are there.
Anti-immigrant groups have been stopping people outside hospitals and schools, demanding to see their identity papers.
For further diplomatic resolution, the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Office summoned the South African ambassador in a meeting on Monday, 4th May. The United Nations and African Commission have strongly condemned the violence and called for urgent protection of foreign nationals. As Nigerian authorities continue to engage diplomatically and prepare support for those who wish to return home, the number of Nigerians willing to evacuate is expected to rise sharply. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olaniyi, WION, World is One.
Mali's military leader, General Assimi Goïta, has taken over as defense minister after the officer who previously held the post was killed in a wave of surprise attacks. The West African country remains in a security crisis more than a week after an alliance of jihadists and separatist rebels launched their nationwide raids. Goïta's decision to simultaneously lead the presidency and the defense ministry is likely to be interpreted as an attempt to consolidate power at a time when his authority appears to be threatened.
It is hard to overstate the sense of shock reverberating across West Africa after attackers in coordinated assaults managed to enter Mali's capital Bamako, assassinate the defense minister and seize control of northern areas. The scale of the offensive and the withdrawal of Malian and Russian forces from the northern city of Kidal, now under FLA control, have fueled doubts about the strength of the military government led by Colonel Assimi Goïta, who came to power in a coup in August 2020. It has taken Goïta several days to make an appearance since the offensive, prompting questions about the junta's future, as well as the role of Russian forces deployed in Mali and neighboring countries to tackle the security threat.
I commend in this circumstance the synergy of action within the Confederation of Sahel States, whose unified force is working tirelessly to pacify our region. I also wish to acknowledge the quality of the cooperation with our strategic partners, particularly the Russian Federation.
So, what will happen next? Many analysts believe this remains the most likely short-term outcome, as the military still controls most major cities and towns as well as state institutions. However, analysts say the death of the defense minister, Sadio Kamara, could weaken military coordination during any counter-offensive. Kamara's death may also hamper the relationship with Russia, according to Ulf Leising, head of the Sahel program at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, a center-right German think tank.
It's normal to be afraid, especially here in Bamako. When something bad happens in Bamako, it affects everyone. No matter which neighborhood you're in, we're all part of the same nation, with the same father and the same mother. When you hear there are attacks elsewhere, it's only natural to be afraid. All you can do is pray to God to calm the situation. We go to bed with fear in our hearts. Even when you're inside, if one of your loved ones is outside, you're afraid.
Last weekend's attacks also damaged Russia's image as a reliable security partner in Mali. Following the military takeover at the beginning of the decade, French forces, who had been supporting the army, were told to leave, and Russian fighters came in their place to help curb the insurgency. The Russians' reputation has taken a huge blow after the failure of its Africa Corps to defend major cities and the fall of Kidal. One possible option could involve closer ties with Turkey, which has been seeking to expand its influence in Africa. Mali has also shown signs of renewed engagement with the US after years of strained relations. Bamako could also lean more heavily on the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, which brings together Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso, all military-led governments. The bloc has pledged support for Mali, though it has yet to act as a major joint fighting force. One possible outcome is another military coup, with a different group of officers taking power. Alternatively, an FLA-JNIM alliance could replace the current government, but it would face serious internal tensions. Mali's separatists and Islamist groups have had an on-off relationship for years, going back to 2012 when the ethnic Tuareg separatist rebellion was hijacked by Islamist militants.
The regime will fall, sooner or later. It will fall. They have no way to stay in power, so they have no solution, neither in Bamako nor in the rest of the country. Faced with the FLA offensive to retake the territory of Azawad on one side and the offensive by the others, in Bamako and other cities, they will not be able to hold out, and they have no solution.
However, differences in ideology between JNIM and the FLA could become a future source of tension unless the separatists secure full control of the north and distance themselves from developments elsewhere in the country. Africa Bureau, WION. World is one.
From West Africa, let's head to East Africa and talk about this man you see here. World Athletics President Sebastian Sawe says the organization will not strangle innovation following the debate around the so-called Super Shoe, which helped Sebastian Sawe become the first person to run a competitive marathon in under 2 hours. The 31-year-old Kenyan won the London Marathon in 1 hour, 59 minutes, 30 seconds, writing himself into history and breaking a barrier once thought by many to be impossible. Sawe thanked Adidas for making what he said were the best shoes he had ever worn, particularly highlighting how very light and stable they were.
8 million shillings for Sebastian Sawe.
Marathon sensation Sebastian Sawe is already setting his sights on making more history after he became the first athlete to run an official marathon in under 2 hours in London. Speaking a day after clocking an almost unbelievable 1 hour 59 minutes and 30 seconds across the 26.2 mile course, the Kenyan thinks it's just a matter of time before the latest shoe technology allows him to run a 1 hour 58 minute time.
Doping have become cancer in my country, and for sure what I decide, not myself, my management with my team, two running club, also my coaches, was an incredible thing. And to decide to have multiple tests was because of looking Sebastian running incredible in this journey of marathon with a lot of doubts was not good. So come up to show the world that we can run clean and also run fast.
Sawe received a celebratory welcome upon his return to Nairobi. Sebastian was introduced to professional running by his uncle, Abraham Chepkirwok, who was an Olympian himself. In 2024, Sawe won the Valencia Marathon, clocking 2 hours, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. He went into the race in London as the defending champion. He was to appear at State House carrying the Kenyan flag, and during the ceremony he was awarded $61,000 and a car by President William Ruto. President William Ruto held the more formal welcoming ceremony where he described Sawe's win as a defining moment in the history of human endurance. Sawe gave President Ruto an autographed Adidas Adi Zero shoe worn during Sunday's marathon. He also autographed a photo of the moment he broke the world record.
To understand the magnitude of the moment and this achievement, we must place it alongside the great milestones of human history. When Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon on 20th July 1969, and when Roger Bannister shattered the 4-minute mile on 6th May 1954, an accomplishment once believed to be beyond human limits. These moments did more than set records. They redefined possibility itself.
His parents, Simon and Emily Sawe, were seen overjoyed at their modest home in Nandi County in Kenya. Sebastian, the middle child of 3, was always fast according to his parents. His mother believed, born into a family of athletes, he was destined for greatness.
The moment my son pulled in front, I walked out and didn't see him finish the race. I watched the replay afterwards. I was so happy, extremely happy. We screamed until now it is hard to swallow anything.
I just saw people running and my son screaming, "Mom, he has broken the record." So we screamed and jumped in happiness. We were so happy. Sebastian has done us proud. I do not even know what to say. We thank God.
The man they call Kimaru back in his hometown, Sebastian's middle name remains Driven. Africa Bureau WION The World is One.
We're still in Kenya, and poor battery recycling drives lead poisoning risks in Africa's solar energy boom. Between 2007 and 2014, a lead-acid battery smelting factory in Owino Uhuru village, Mombasa, Kenya, caused severe lead poisoning, affecting thousands. residents suffered high blood lead levels, illnesses and deaths, with contamination found in soil, water and even air. After a long legal battle, the Supreme Court of Kenya affirmed a 2 billion shilling compensation in 2024, though cleanup and health impacts continue and the compensation has not been paid.
Years after a toxic battery recycling plant shut down in Kenya's coastal city of Mombasa, residents of Owino Huru village said they are still living with the scars of lead poisoning, a warning experts say of a growing public health risk as Africa's clean energy boom drives a surge in battery use. For many, their health is in great peril.
The old men and the children here are sick. We also have cases of miscarriages, and the only thing we are left to do is to go to hospital. However, we cannot do this without finances. We need money in order for us to take care of our families and live normal lives.
The contamination dates back to 2007, when Kenya Metal Refineries EPZ, a local subsidiary of a Mumbai-based company, operated a lead-acid battery recycling plant within the settlement, exporting processed lead to India amid rising global demand for batteries. Residents say that toxic waste from the plant seeped into the soil and water, triggering widespread illness. More than 20 deaths have been linked to the pollution. Although the factory was shut down in 2014, the effects continue to linger. 70-year-old Alfred Ogulo Mulo, a village elder, suffered from paralysis in his leg and now requires a stick to walk.
I have been to many hospitals, but I have not healed, and my body continues to deteriorate. I now feel like someone with polio. My leg is paralyzed, and my body is in constant pain.
At one point, Ogulo said tests showed extremely high lead levels in his blood, leaving him with nerve damage and limited mobility. In 2025, Kenya's Supreme Court awarded about $12 million in damages to roughly 3,000 residents after they won a class action lawsuit against the smelting company, marking a rare legal victory for victims of industrial pollution. But even as the community seeks closure, activists say the state has failed to follow through on timely compensation.
We fought and won the case, and when we returned, we were told we would be compensated by April. However, the month has passed and nothing has happened. We don't know what to do. Some of us may die without ever receiving compensation.
The consequences can be severe. Lead exposures linked to neurological damage, reduced cognitive development and long-term health impacts, particularly in children whose brains are still developing. In many countries, weak enforcement of environmental regulations compounds the problem. While rules often exist, experts say implementation remains inconsistent. International donors are increasingly supporting lithium-ion technologies, which do not carry the same lead-related risks. But lead-acid batteries are expected to remain widely used for years, particularly in off-grid solar systems. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
Thousands descended on Ibadan, Nigeria, on May 2nd for the grand finale of the 2026 Wild Egungun Festival, one of West Africa's most spectacular celebrations of Yoruba cultural heritage. Take a look.
The Obafemi Awolowo Stadium in Ibadan, the state capital of Oyo, was a blend of culture and theatrical performances for the annual Egungun Festival, one of West Africa's most spectacular celebrations of Yoruba cultural heritage. Masquerade performers exhibited stunts with fire and danced to pounding drums as festival goers in vibrant outfits captured every moment. Cultural groups presented elaborate dance routines, while dignitaries including international diplomats watched from a VIP enclosure. Now in its third year, the World Egungun Festival has grown into a major international event.
The UK and Nigeria is huge. Nigerians make up possibly our largest, or at least our top 5 largest diaspora in the UK. And I know that there's so many links, and Nigerians in the UK bring so much spice and flavour to our culture that we are really proud. And I'm really glad that they are in the UK, and I'm really happy that I'm able to kind of see the Yoruba Festival myself.
About 18,000 people attended the grand finale at the stadium, with masquerades representing communities from across Oyo State, neighbouring Nigerian states, and even the Republic of Benin. Participants from roughly 10 countries took part. Masquerades are believed to embody the spirits of the departed, connecting the living with their ancestors through elaborate costumes, drumming and dance. The festival also drew visitors from Brazil, where the Egungun tradition has deep roots among Afro-Brazilian communities, tracing their ancestry.
I invite everyone to come to the Egungun Festival. It is truly very beautiful, and we should experience a festival of this magnitude at least once in our lifetime. It is one of the biggest in Nigeria. It is definitely worth attending.
Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde reiterated his pledge to continue to support culture and tourism as a means of enhancing its economic value chain in the state. He stressed that the Egungun Festival is one of the cultural heritage that has been underrated due to the beliefs of some people that it is all about spirituality and violence. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
And that is what is creating a buzz in Africa this week. Get in touch with us on all our YouTube channel and our social media platforms and share your story from the continent with us. We would love to hear from you and highlight it to the whole world. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take,